run into you all the time now.
There's some pictures of Laurie up here, and I brought her the handout that they gave at her funeral in Wisconsin. It's a picture with information. Good. It's very enlightening. I was like,
Oh, but it was terrible enough that I went to
Okay, I think so.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you'd like to step forward a little closer, if you can hear okay, great. Otherwise, we've got room up here and there's some shade up here too. Welcome, everyone, to this memorial event to dedicate a palm tree in the memory of Laurie Rosemeyer. We planned to do so when Gary was here, but he cannot travel. So what better day to do this than on her birthday? Today she would have been 81. And if you remember her last year, there were big signs in her yard and everybody was partying with her, and unfortunately she passed. So we'd like to recognize a few people that are here today that have helped out. Rusty for the sound equipment, Joni, Allen for helping put this together, Sandy, Sean. I'm Joe Sean, by the way, driver for Sandy. All right, I made notes just so I wouldn't go on too long. I've written a poem to dedicate this palm tree to her memory. And I will read that poem, and then I would invite anyone to come up and give your memory of Laurie, and you can hold it down to 1 or 2 pages. I would also like to thank all those who donated to this palm tree fund, and many of you, most of you are here today. With that, let me begin. If I can open my page. All right. So, remembering Laurie Rosemeyer. Laurie really loved living in Foxwood. She made getting involved such a blast. She volunteered for painting and did HOA accounting and did most everything that she was asked. With partner Gary, they had skills to offer. Their garage filled with drills, paint, and saws. They opened a shop that they called Wood Knot and invited friends to build whatever, just because. She loved numbers by the column or checkbook. Some people's eyes crossed, but not hers. For fun, she volunteered to do taxes for older folks with the IRS blurs. Planning was always her middle name, and for detail, she was almost fanatic. Everything had to be in a place, in a time, and her schedule was almost autocratic. Freedom Boat Club was her scheduling toy. She booked boats and docks weeks in advance, and always invited friends to go for a ride with a great dockside lunch, perchance. For all her giving and sharing and coaching, I never heard Laurie ask for a thing. She was always so generous in all that she did, and with Gary, they could do most anything. Her grandsons came to visit her often. She made every meal into a treat. For Lala would make all their favorites with all the ice cream and bacon they could eat. So now we're here to plant a palm tree, a memorial to Laurie, our friend. She touched so many lives here in Foxwood. We just can't imagine that they'd end. Laurie told us during the last days of her life, anytime that you need me, just ask. She assured us that she would be listening to help or console or whatever the task. Partner Gary made her earn in their woodshop. Her ashes rest on a shelf on the wall of their home in Platteville, Wisconsin. They'll stay close till heaven does call. The plaque that marks the memorial reads, "In memory of Laurie Rosemeyer, our friend. She loved Foxwood and all of the people that live here." Now you can visit her again and again. Thank you. Just to make a comment, Sandy and I have known Laurie for 45 years. And I think we probably visited her at least once a year. And many times once a week.
Well, until we got here. And then she's the reason we came here.
So, with that, I would like to invite anyone to come up and share a story about Laurie.
When I became the clubhouse chairman, well, I was already the clubhouse chairperson, and then Laurie became the treasurer.
Okay, talk to me.
I was the clubhouse chairman, and Laurie became the treasurer. And we were trying to line up projects to do for the clubhouse. And she said, just come over to my house, and I'll show you, what you've got. So we sat down at the computer. She brought out the spreadsheets and said, now this is all the finances from now until 2050. So this year, you've got this much, and next year you have this much, and this is what it can be used for. Laid it all out, and she just had so much fun doing it. And it was very helpful to us. So she knew exactly how to explain all the complicated finances in a very clear, easy way, and we were able to get a lot done in the clubhouse with Laurie's help and guidance. So that's just an indication of how excited she was about numbers and spreadsheets and Foxwood.
Connie.
Thank you.
Well, I was glad I was able to visit Laurie shortly before she died, about a month before she died. She talked a lot about Foxwood and missing everybody that's going to be here. But, even though she was sick, she just was in there being a trooper, fighting to stay well. She and Gary seem to be doing well together. And I'm sure she sends her love to all of you because she really cared about everybody here. Thank you.
Anyone else have a moment or an experience to share?
Gail.
Hi, I spoke with Laurie several weeks before she passed, and she was telling me all the things she did with her grandkids and Gary and everybody to get them ready, and how she was all right with it. I said, stop, I'm not okay with this. She said, I don't care. I am, I've lived 80 years without being sick a day in my life. This is okay. I'm all right with it. You need to get over it, Gail. I just thought that was really great that she was comforting me instead of me, you know, she wouldn't let me be upset. Let's just put it that way. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman, and I miss her every day.
Thank you, Gail. Thanks, Kate. Kay.
This is a perfect place. My very first day of moving here, I took a walk, and I'm walking along here, and I hear somebody yelling, "You want to play tennis?" And that was 10 years ago, and I've been playing tennis, and Laurie got me friends that I've had for 10 years. And that's just the way she was. She would stand in front of her house and say, "You want to come in?" and make new friends. And she was wonderful.
Thank you, Kay. Anyone else like to make a comment?
Jerry Seacrest. When Sean's moved in, I guess Joe was still working, and Joel was still working at the time too. And Laurie said, "There's somebody you need to meet." So she introduced me to Sandy, who has become a very dear friend. And she was always making connections for people, you know, just like Kay mentioned, doing that. Another story I want to tell is that our grandchildren were visiting at the age, they were 4 to 10 at that time. There's 4 of them. And Laurie called and said, "We want to take you and the grandkids out on a trip on the boat." And she said, "How about that?" And I thought for a while, and I said, "Laurie, I'm not sure I want to go out on a boat with people who are crazy enough to invite 4 little kids around." But we had a wonderful day. They had the day, as you can imagine, they had the day all planned. We went so far, and then the kids got out and did some swimming, and then we went so much further and had lunch, and then we went so much further, and they went exploring on an island. So, you know, she just had a fabulous day, and it's really deep in our grandkids' memory. So she was super with their planning and for everybody.
I too talked to Laurie, as Gail did, and
Put it by your mouth.
okay, got it. Anyway, she would always, like Gail said, comfort the person that was calling her. And she would tell me all the things she was doing. She wallpapered, she helped tear the wall down in between her kitchen, and on she went. And she said, "Evie, I'm so comfortable with everything. My family is here." And she told me, "You just call me anytime you want to." And I said, "Well, Laurie, I don't really want to bother you." She said, "Nobody bothers me." She said, "I'm just glad to have news from Foxwood."
Good stories, good memories. Yep, and many of you probably have the stools and tables and other things that Gary built in the wood shop, and I know it's amazing. And many of you probably were invited to come over to his wood shop, would not, and when they opened it and made it available to everybody, and always, like as all the other things that Laurie planned, she overplanned. I mean, she expected everybody from Foxwood to be there. She had enough water and food and snacks and buns and barbecue for everyone. And of course, you know, there's not that many people who made it, but many took advantage of that opportunity to do a lot of improvements in their homes and make a lot of new wood creations. Doug.
I'm one of Gary's students. He showed me, well, we built a couple wood stools, the ones that he kind of donated at volunteer night. And he got it home, and my friend Arlu said, "You got to put that in the fair." I said, "Fair?" She said, "Yeah, at the county fair." And I got a grand prize. So I sent it to Gary, and he was so proud. I think he was happier than I was. But I've only known Gary and Laurie for a year, but holy cow, I've got memories of them for last me a lifetime. Just both great people, so it was an honor to know them both.
Thank you, Doug. Anyone else have some comments they'd like to share? Oh, Joni, absolutely.
The wood shop reminded me. The stools that Gary always knew how to make, and I've done some, Fred and I have done some woodworking, but nothing like Gary. But he and Laurie convinced me that I could make a stool. So I went out to the wood shop with him, and he took me through the whole first one, the sample one, we did it together, and then I made another one on my own, and then I got home and I showed it to Fred, and he said, "He let you use his router?" And I said, he did. He was very generous, and he let me use, all of his tools. And so that's just a sample of, the generosity that they had toward people. They just wanted everybody to enjoy their day in his wood shop as much as they could. Thanks.
Thanks, Joni. Yes, sir.
However, there was one area that frustrated Laurie to no end. I have to tell you that Laurie was one of those people who knew finances better than most anybody I've ever known in the school business as I've gone through it. But she knew it so well, she intimidated a lot of men who had to work with her. And when we were transitioning from her as treasurer to me as treasurer, she told me, she says, "John, there's one thing that really annoys me." And she says, "Sometimes when I'm working with men, they don't listen to me because they don't think I know anything about finance." But after she spoke with them a little bit, and they got to really hear what she had to say, they changed their tune and recognized her as the financial genius she was. And I think there are a lot of people who recognize that here too, and she does taxes, she continued to do Foxwood, keep track of Foxwood numbers, and right up to the time she left. And I have to say that she was amazing. She had a brilliant acumen for numbers, and I often ask, well, what would Laurie do? And I think that's something that should be added to that little sign by the tree. She loved the Foxwood, and everybody asked, what would Laurie do?
Fantastic, Great comment, John. Oh, Sandy, thank you.
This is pretty tough, but Laurie was my best friend for over 40 years, and it was mutual. We were together in everything you can imagine. We've been everywhere. I've known her kids since they were 7 and 9. We babysat, we traveled, we did everything. And I always say, and I said, what am I going to do without Laurie? Because Laurie was, she was my other side. And what am I going to do? Who am I going to ask? So I still haven't quite found that person, but I don't think I ever will. But she was a great friend, and I miss her a lot. So thank you for being here today. This means so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. I might make another little comment if I can before anybody else wants to come up and speak. And that is, frankly, Laurie is still around us today. As you heard from John, you're still asking, what would Laurie do? Well, 2 days ago, we never get egrets in our backyard like many of you do. And we brought home this photograph that we had made of Laurie and Gary on their boat, and we opened it up and looked at it, and Sandy then said, "Oh my gosh, look outside. Here is a beautiful egret walking in our backyard." And I said, "I'll bet you that's Laurie checking out the photograph." And then just a few minutes ago, a big whirlwind came through here, and you picked up one thing and took it up in the air, and that was the, what do you call that?
This is, you know, her.
Yes, the obituary, and it swirled high up. Doug retrieved it, but those are the magical things. And as Sandy always says, she's still around, and Laurie said she's there to help, console whenever we need her. Just ask her. Anyone else, please? Lila. Dance up with me.
I knew Laurie for only 7 years. When we first moved here, she was the first person who came to talk to us. And immediately after that, she invited us to go boating with them. I didn't know her, but you know, she was just so charming. So it was the best boat ride I may have been on. She had snacks and things, and then Gary found places where there were manatees and where there were dolphins. And at that time, I'd never seen anything like that up close. So it was a marvelous ride. And she was always kindly thinking of things, or she'd come by, or she would, you know, call you. But the last time I talked to her, she knew I was having shoulder replacement surgery, and she made an ice pack for me that she filled with, I don't know, some kind of barley or seeds or something, rice. And it was the most colorful, beautiful thing, and it was pretty big. And I really used it throughout that time. And I remember thinking, "Oh, Laurie, you know, you don't have to do this." "Oh, but I want you to have it. I want you to have it." And it was so like her. It was, she was just a very charming, classy, lovely lady.
Very good. Anybody else? Well, again, thank you all for coming, and this was a very, very nice event and a beautiful day, and we look forward to visiting the palm tree often. Thank you very much.
Well, it'll get nice and tall and beautiful.
It's just such a great place too.
Yeah, it's the perfect place.
It is like perfect. It was like meant to be there.
I mean it is the perfect. If you can't miss that, you know.
Thanks for organizing.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.